Welcome along to the Film Man and the Film Fan. Today, Dan, we're in this beautiful The Vintry at Matakana Cinemas.
Yep, The Vintry is our partner in crime. Mm-hmm. When we show movies, people do love to grab a glass of local vino or a beer. Mm-hmm. And right across the foyer from our three theatres, it makes sense.
It does.
You know, these guys are fantastic. We work a lot with them on projects, and they have the license for the cinemas. So it's a partnership made in movie heaven.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes Matakana Cinemas so unique. So I've been to see a couple of movies. So let's talk about Jurassic World Dominion.
Okay, start with the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs. I went to the premiere of the first Jurassic Park back in 1993. And I really loved it. And at that time you thought, wow, look at this dinosaurs on the screen. And I'd seen a few reviews of this one, and people said, do we really need it? You know, the original cast is back in. But I can tell you that myself and my wife, we absolutely loved it. I just thought it was a great movie. And the cinematography and the dinosaurs, I mean, you can imagine the leap in technology from the 90s through to now. There was one scene where Chris Pratt was on a horse and lassoing dinosaurs, and I'm just going, wow. It's incredible. So I loved it from the beginning to the end. Big Jeff Goldblum fan. He was in it. Sam Neill was back. Laura Dern. So, and the stories melded together. And so I don't care what the critics said. I thought it was great.
Fun.
Yep.
Big fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All capital letters. It makes me think. You bringing up that concept of critic versus fan, right? Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes. We all know what Rotten Tomatoes is in the movie industry. And I've got to be honest, when I'm working as a programmer in my business, looking at how I'm going to book films, what films are looking like as they are coming up to release date, you start to get reviews coming in. Right. And to be fair, with all due respect to movie critics out there, really it's about the fans. It's about the people that come to see the movies. And Jurassic Park Dominion is one of the best recent examples. So. Can't quite remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's something like 30% critic, so it's rotten as far as the critics are concerned, and 80-something% audience. Look at that audience number and do a double thumbs up. If you're looking at an audience score that's really low, then it does actually start to make you wonder about the quality of the film, because at the end of the day, one critic's word can have influence, but it's about the people who are going and buying those tickets and making the effort to go to the cinema. Because critics don't pay for the tickets.
No, they don't.
You know, so let's look after all you film fans out there, you know?
Yeah. I think that's good. And, you know, as Walt Disney said, I'm sort of paraphrasing a quote, I'm not here to please the critics, I'm here to please the fans. That's what he said. And that's it.
That's what's happened, right?
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. I thought, I'm going back to when I read the Michael Crichton novel, and it just everything tied in with some flashbacks to the past and the original.
Yeah, do you think, though, that you're truly a fan of the franchise? Yeah. Do you think, though, that had a little bit of sway on the way you took that film? Or are you just saying, on paper as it were, watching that movie, I loved it?
Yep, watching that movie, I loved it. I thought it was great.
There you go.
And then the other one that you said was a little bit Star Wars, and I went, what? In the last podcast was Top Gun Maverick.
Do you get it now? Do you get what I'm talking about?
I get what you're talking about, absolutely.
Now, how much do we say? I think we've got to be a little bit careful here, Brent.
Was written by the guy that wrote Rogue One, right?
Yes, I think he was involved.
Yes, and some of the writing for that, so yeah.
So, not so similar to Rogue One, and without giving away too much, definite similarities to A New Hope.
Yes.
And some similarities to other Star Wars films.
Yes.
Yes. I'm just staying a little bit mum on that one. So we'll keep it cool.
You've got to see it. I came along to the cinema on a Saturday. It was absolutely chocker. There were no empty seats. Still. And it's passed over $1 billion now, hasn't it?
It's gone over $1 billion. So let's throw out a few numbers here, okay? Going back to Rotten Tomatoes, I think Maverick sits around 97% critic and in the 90s for audience. Wow. So that is a double whammy, right? What has been really interesting with this film is, well, there's a lot of interesting things about this film. So where do I start? Okay, what I'm going to go with is what Paramount Studios in New Zealand thought it was going to do.
Yes.
Shout out to Guy at Paramount. Him and I had a chat about it pre-release after I'd seen it, so a week before it released in New Zealand, so in between release and when I'd seen it. Guy felt about maybe it might go to $6 million in New Zealand. $10.5 million as we speak.
Yeah. Wow.
That's insane. Sometimes a film will underperform, but it won't necessarily grossly underperform. You know, relative, it might be 10% underperformance. Goes the other way, might 10% overperform, and you go, yeah, okay, that's great. Like, we thought it might do that. For a film to do almost double that the studio thought it would do in New Zealand is absolutely insane. Now, speaking of Matakana cinemas, we thought, yeah, we've got a big film on our hands here. We really did. We saw it and thought, okay, we've got a bigger film on our hands.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, it's sitting in the number 9 position on our all-time chart here at Matakana Cinemas.
Oh, okay.
Number 1 is Hunt for the Wilder People, probably will never be surpassed because it is, like talking of Star Wars, it is light years ahead of number 2, which is Star Wars Force Awakens.
Right.
In the mix you've got Mamma Mia, The King's Speech, you've got Shrek 3, which Maverick has just overtaken.
Oh, okay.
For a film at this time, and now I'm going to go back into podcast 1, film in, you know, the time of COVID.
Yes.
It is phenomenal. And like, thank you, Tom Cruise. If you ever do watch this podcast, buddy, you are an absolute savior of cinema. And the next point I'll make is at one stage when this film was meant to be released in 2019, then it was pushed back because of the pandemic. There were whispers about this film going to streaming.
Oh, okay.
And Tom Cruise said no. He said this film needs to be seen on the big screen, and here we are.
Yeah.
So Tommy boy, thank you.
He was absolutely right. Boy, it was just amazing. And I took my wife and my eldest daughter Aiden along. Yeah. And Aiden hadn't seen the first film.
Shall we quickly shout out Aiden?
Yeah. Shout out Aiden.
Yeah, shout out Aiden, our fantastic producer.
And I said to her, so you haven't seen the first film, so it's a standalone film. What did you think of it? And she gave it 9 Jaffas out of 10. 9
Jaffas out of 10. Did you eat all those Jaffas, Aiden? If you're listening, did you eat all those Jaffas?
Yeah.
She's just over there, everybody. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I'd seen it as an 8 out of 10, hot take straight out of the cinema.
Yeah.
Here's something that people may not have thought about, you may not have thought about, but I actually saw it not just as an incredible blockbuster film. And the reason I stepped it up half a point after, as I started to think about it on my drive back up to Matakana from Auckland City, having seen it, was it made me want to see movies on the big screen again. It is a true big screen film.
Absolutely.
And not only does it make you want to see that film again, I know that in the States about 16% of the ticket sales have been second time watches, 4 or 5% third time watches. It's nearly 20% of every ticket sold. People have gone back a second or third time. Not only to make me, I would happily go and see it again. I haven't seen it a second time, but it makes me believe in the power of cinema, you know. And I'm thinking Thor, Love and Thunder, like these sort of superhero kind of like words that you want to, throw about the magic and the power of the big screen and stuff, which we are clearly big fans of, right? And we've talked about in our previous podcasts. It's a true, powerful popcorn blockbuster that just rocks, and that third act I think it's my favourite part of the film.
Yes, it's brilliant.
And without giving too much away, it kind of goes from this kind of serious America like action film, self-deprecating at times, to this kind of buddy comedy. I love that.
It's good.
Got a true triple act film with so much going for it.
I think so many people are crediting Tom Cruise as saving cinema, and it is one you got to see on the big screen. You just got to see it. It's incredible.
How many Jaffas, Brent?
I gave it 10 out of 10
10 out of 10 Jaffas.
I loved it from the beginning to the end, the flashbacks, everything in it. And as soon as I sat down and I heard Danger Zone for Kenny Loggins, I was sold.
Oh, dude. Here we go. Kenny Loggins. Yeah. Oh
That's
my God.
good.
Yeah, incredible.
And I think this leads on nicely to something I want to talk about. And as you and I have discussed, it could be like a 15-part series. It's about programming movies, because at the moment, there just seems to be so many movies. How do you decide how many screenings, when's it going to finish, when's it going to start, all these kind of things? How do you work that out at the cinema?
Beautiful segue, Brent, because it just popped into my head 30 seconds ago as we were talking about Top Gun. If you're watching this podcast and you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yes.
Because it will make you believe. And it's really good. We 4-quadrant film, kids, male, female, seniors, adults love it. Pretty much to the every. I mean, there's a handful of people, but overall, it's just overwhelmingly positive. The issue we now have is that Top Gun needs screen space. All of a sudden, though, We've got Elvis that's coming, and
Yeah.
over this previous long weekend, Matariki weekend, what a beautiful idea for a public holiday in
Oh,
New
it's
Zealand, by
brilliant,
the way,
wasn't it? Yeah.
has just gone gangbusters. Like most sessions were selling out. It was our biggest theatre, so that meant that we had to shunt Top Gun, which is still going nuts, to our second biggest theatre.
Yeah.
Then you throw into the mix things like Fina, beautiful New Zealand production,
Yes.
Minions, The Rise of Gru.
Yeah.
You know, that film is going to go gangbusters in the school holidays. And we had some preview screenings, and we need, you know, we've gone from it's truly feast or famine, you know, and right now it's the flip side, it's famine to feast.
Yeah.
And we've had a real issue with content. Content is king.
That's right.
Another expression we'll pretty much say in every podcast.
Every time. Yep.
Where do you find the room for the films? Okay, now when you're programming, throw into the mix, where's the best place for a film to play? I'm not going to play Minions at 8:30 at night.
No.
But Top Gun at 8:30 at night really, really
Perfect.
works.
Yeah.
Run times for films. Elvis, bless him,
Yeah.
his movie is 159 minutes long. So
Yeah.
if I play a 6 o'clock, the next session with the domino effect of time, because we're dealing in time here, is going to be a 9 o'clock session.
Yeah.
In June, when it gets dark at 5:36, 9 o'clock's probably too late because people are at home. We live in a rural residential area.
I never thought of that.
Then you throw the distributors into the mix, and we have contractual obligations with all of our films. So we have to, for example, some of the studios are more specific on how many sessions they want. Others will have absolute faith in the way I program my films at Matakana. But for example, your average film we need to play 3 to 4 times a day
Yeah.
for the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that takes up screen space.
Yes, it
and any
does.
films that are playing before that, they drop down in terms of sessions.
Wow.
But what if you've got a scenario where you don't just have 1 or 2 films that are rocking, but you've got 3 or 4,
Yeah.
you know?
Which is what you've got.
And honestly, man, on a Friday and a Monday when I'm doing my programming for the coming week, headaches galore sometimes. And, you know, then you throw in private screenings and you know, limited content where you've got a Met Opera, which is 3 hours long. And
Of course.
yeah, it's a real, there's a few weeks per year, magic weeks,
Yes.
where I can do Thursday's program
Yep.
and then I can just copy paste right through to Wednesday.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often.
No.
On the other hand, you know, looking after my screens and programming is a key priority for me in my business. I love mixing it up. I love being able to have Top Gun, Minions, Met Opera, Tutankhamun, The Last Exhibition, really having a diverse slate in a market here where there is an appetite for it. The French Film Festival, which
Yes.
by the way, we did nearly 700 admits in June. You know,
700 people. That's
incredible.
great.
So
Yeah.
I think I've just really done a very quick overview on what programming looks like. And
Yeah.
yes, I think we'll probably end up touching on it in a few other ways. So unless you have any other questions on what I've just thrown at you.
No, it's good things to think about. I didn't take into account that. And you know, when about popular movies coming up, it was really funny. As I was getting my tickets to Top Gun, I went, Brent, you got to go see Elvis.
Yeah, right?
Maybe I should just buy the tickets while I'm here for Elvis. But friends of mine have seen it and said if he doesn't get an Oscar for it, there's something
Austin
wrong.
Butler.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible performance by all accounts. And look, Baz Luhrmann, he makes big screen, lush films, you know, Romeo and Juliet and The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
He does that kind of thing really well. And I do think when you think about someone doing a biopic of Elvis,
Yes.
he's probably the right guy. I think we've
so.
landed on the right person to do the film. So yeah, highly recommended from what I hear.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily an Elvis fan, but by all accounts, that film's probably going to make me see it because it's really good.
Speaking of the right people, Taika Waititi. And when I saw the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, it's great. It's got that real New Zealand humour feel, but it just looked great.
Yeah, we're segueing beautifully today, Brent, because now that you mention Taika, he's another person I have to look into the camera and say thank you, Taika. Because in our top 5 films ever here, we mentioned Top Gun slipping into ninth place, overtaking Shrek 3, are 2 of Taika's films.
Okay.
So our number 1 film of all time is Hunt for the Wilder People. Far and away the biggest film, and I don't think it will ever be overtaken here at Matakana Cinemas. And Boy is in 3rd or 4th place.
Okay.
A real phenomenon at the time. We didn't know what we had on our plates at the time, and it far exceeded expectations, much like Top Gun Maverick. Completely different films, of course.
Yeah.
But yes, the man with the Midas touch, he is releasing Thor: Love and Thunder, and then it opens officially on the 7th of July.
Right.
The early buzz is that it's Taika doing Thor, and outgunning Ragnarok.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love Ragnarok. It was brilliant. It was just such a different twist on it. And I think I read somewhere that Chris Hemsworth said it was thanks to Taika I got interested in playing Thor again.
Yeah, and I think there's got to be something said for that Aussie-Kiwi connection. I think they really, really do have a genuine, love for each other and they've built up a really strong friendship. And I think you get that. Seems to me like Chris Hemsworth is like, Taika, what are we doing? And he's like, yeah, all in. Let's just do it,
Yeah.
And I also get the impression that that one of the things that Marvel Studios seems to do really well is they pick the right director for a film.
Yeah.
And they trust them to roll out their vision for the film.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible man management. It's like a really good sports coach, right?
It is, yes.
Is often you're not working on technical stuff necessarily because the people you're hiring, they know their job and how to do it really well, and the gaffers and the focus pullers and and all those people, they're really good at their job, right? So it's about empowering your directors and backing them, and I think that's the impression I get with Taika. The other thing I think, looking from afar, I would say about Taika is that guy's work ethic is insane.
Yeah, I know.
There's a film called Next Goal Wins, which is his next little project, which is just sitting I think it's finished now, it's just sitting there. It's going to get released probably at some point this year or early next year. It's about the American Samoan football team with Michael Fassbender as the coach. It's a bit of a Cool Runnings kind of story.
Oh, good.
With Taika at the helm.
Oh, that'll be brilliant.
So look out for that film. But he's doing his TV series with Reese.
Yes.
Been greenlit for a series 2. He's got a Star Wars film that he's working on. And I get the impression that he just gets into a project and he just boom, 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 knocks it out and somehow has the ability to roll out quality product every time.
I see he and Reese are doing Time Bandits.
Yeah, there you go, another project.
I love that movie.
Yeah, Time Bandits coming back. I mean, what's next? I'd love to see him do Terry Teo.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember those comic books?
Yeah.
So really looking forward to catching Thor Love and Thunder. I think it's one of those Marvel films, and I can speak for myself, I've seen, maybe 3 or 4 Marvel films. One of them is Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And the other ones I've seen are Guardians of the Galaxy films.
Yes.
Why? Certainly, I love the fun that those films have going on for them, the colour and the vibrancy. And then I go and see Taika films.
Yeah.
I went and saw Thor Ragnarok. My wife and I went and saw it because we were like, Taika's made it. And I will go and see Love and Thunder because Taika's made it.
It's a Taika film.
So you can throw definitely a quarter to half of the box office on top of, in New Zealand certainly, with a Taika Waititi made Marvel film.
And what are some other things we've got going on at Matakana Cinemas?
Well, school holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
We've got the Minions Rise of Gru film. Those films just work, and they're perfect kids films. I think somewhere, Lightyear is slightly underperformed in New Zealand, and I think it's probably playing slightly too old for kids. Minions, 4 5-year-olds right up to 10 12-year-olds who have grown up with those films. Why? Because they love the fun. Kids want to go to the cinema to have fun. I think Lightyear lost a few kids a bit too much. It's a very interesting story, don't get me wrong, a really good film, but there's a lot going on there. And just sometimes I think kids just want to see a stripped back film, and just go and see craziness on the screen and have a laugh, and just let it kind of wash over them, and then the parents can deal with the craziness later on. What else have we got? We've got Phantom of the Open opening in July. I guess we could talk about the July titles.
Yeah, sure,
Mark Rylance, who played the BFG in that fantastic, Disney version of Roald Dahl's BFG, he plays, it's based on a true story, he plays a golfer who's not a golfer.
I've seen the trailer for this, it looks brilliant.
He got inspired watching the British Open on TV and decides I'm going to be a golfer, and then he enters the British Open eventually, and without giving too much away, Sally Hawkins is in it. Sally Hawkins is box office for a certain market. I think people see her name on a poster and they go, I want to see that film. Then you see the trailer, which was trailering in front of the likes of Downton Abbey, and we'd stand in the back of the cinema, Matt and I, and everyone would be going, oh, that's the next one we're going to see, and chuckling away. So really looking forward to that. Super fun, great reviews already. It opened a little while ago in the UK, so it's already been out, and the buzz is fantastic on that.
Okay.
21st of July, we've got Where the Crawdads Sing opening.
Yes. My wife's looking forward to this because she's read the book.
Yeah.
She got a book club reading the book at the library at the moment, and she really wants to see it. And I've seen the trailer for it, and I go, boy, it looks really interesting.
A lot of people are coming in. When's it opening? It's one of my favourite books. At Matakana Village Bookstore downstairs, one of their top-selling books. Again, built-in property, with the book, and I think the anticipation is hitting fever pitch from what I can see. People are wanting to know when the tickets go on sale for that one, so really exciting. I mean, that takes us through most of the school holidays, and we've done, the kids' content. Jurassic World will be playing through, Lightyear will be playing through, Thor and Minions are the big films. I'm going to keep having to find room for Maverick, I'm going to keep having to find room for Elvis and Fina, and then as the new films come in, here's this programming issue, and I've planned for it, I know it, but as soon as you get a film that keeps wanting to sell tickets, then you just got to kind of juggle things to look for room. Another thing that I always love to mention, and we stopped doing it for a while because with the pandemic it was a little bit difficult. We needed to kind of focus just on selling tickets to the films that we had. Is something called Cinema Enigma.
Yes.
Do you know about it, Brent?
Oh, I do. I've never been along. I have to get brave to do that because I love my movies, but I like to know what I'm going to see and get myself in the mood for it.
So we try and reel people in a little bit by dangling the $9 ticket price.
Well, there you go. You've dangled. That's right.
It's exactly half the ticket price of a standard adult ticket. So this month we've got it. Well, in July we try and show it once a month, and it's a mystery film. So you don't know what you're seeing until it opens. I love it. I think we're one of the only cinemas in New Zealand doing it. We've been doing it for about 5 years, and it's really popular. We do get 30 to 40 up to 50 or 60 people for every session.
That's good.
And they are the risk takers. We like risk takers. And sometimes they go, oh, we've seen it before, or oh, I'm so glad you played that film, and they feel like they've been let in on something that people aren't going to see for another week or two. And sometimes it is a film that we show before the nationwide release.
I'm going to have to do that then.
And of course, I cannot say anything.
No, of course.
But if you're watching this, head to our website.
So that's matakanacinemas.co.nz. Okay, Dan, we'll have to go get our aviator uniforms, and you and I go see Top Gun Maverick for a second time. Okay?
Absolutely, yeah. Also, one more plug for. It's been a big swag of Kiwi films lately. We've got Fina, we've had Lion King Maori version for Matariki, and of course we've got New Tuesday playing at the moment. We've got this interesting promotion. We're sitting in the Vintry right now where we're selling the New Tuesday beer, which has been done by Hemoth Brewing exclusively for the film. So what you can do is buy a New Tuesday ticket, bring your ticket to the Vintry and get a $9 New Tuesday beer. Another shout out to the Vintry, seeing as we're sitting in here.
Exactly. Beautiful location.
Plug it for them. So look, I'm at a point right now where we will probably have the biggest June we have ever had at Matakana Cinemas. Incredible bounce back. A little bit of wet weather. Tom Cruise. The French Film Festival. Elvis has come in. 2 long weekends in June is incredible for business. Just at a time, I'm not talking around pandemic, but just in general, I think it's fantastic for businesses. People getting away and that kind of thing. So really happy with where it's at, and the content just looks really strong for the rest of the year. So content is king. Confidence in our industry is really robust, and it wasn't for the last year or two. So,
it's good.
I'm really excited about getting people back into the cinema. They are. They're back, and movies are back. So, that's kind of the last word for me this time round. Just very positive about where we're at.
I think that's a great way to end the podcast. Movies are back, and if you come to see New Tuesday, we're close. That's all.
If you want to.